AI system consists of a very powerful computer with a large database and an algorithm that recognizes particular patterns within that database. Take a simple example. We're in the midst of a COVID pandemic at the moment, and it affects people's lungs. So let's imagine that our database consists of 1 million X-rays of diseased lungs. They are labeled with their respective diseases by the top medical people in the world. That's our database. Now, a photograph is taken of my lungs if I catch COVID-19, and the algorithm compares the photograph that's taken of my lungs with the million in the database and comes up very rapidly with a diagnosis. Now these days, that diagnosis is likely to be much more accurate than I would get from my local hospital. And systems like this are being employed to find vaccines for COVID-19 and do many other wonderful things. So there's a very positive side to this kind of AI. The second thing to mention about it is that characteristically such a system does one single thing that normally requires human intelligence. That's why it's called artificial intelligence. It's not real intelligence. The machinery, the computer doesn't think, it's not conscious. There's intelligent input from the doctors and the computer scientists and the people that develop the algorithms. What comes out looks as if the diagnosis looks as if it's been made by human intelligence, but it hasn't. It's been made by this sophisticated piece of equipment. Now, it's very important to grasp that. Now, another example is, if we stick with pattern recognition, which is enormously popular, facial recognition technologies have developed to a very advanced state. And you can see that they're very useful for police forces to pick out a terrorist or a criminal in a crowd and be used therefore to capture people who are a danger to society. But there's a downside, because facial recognition technology is being used at the moment in certain parts of the world to invade the privacy not only of individuals but of whole people groups and actually control them and suppress them. Now, I mention that example to say that very rapidly AI, narrow AI, raises huge ethical questions. Now remember, this is the stuff that's actually working. Self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles, AI system built in there, but you have to build into it some kind of ethical decision making. If the car's sensors pick up an old lady crossing the road and it can see, so to speak, that if it misses her, it'll hit a queue of children waiting in line for a bus, what does it decide to do? So you've got to program that ethically. And of course, the ethical norms that will be built in are the ethics of the people doing the programming. That raises huge questions. Even more difficult is the matter of autonomous weapons, and so on and so forth. Now, the final example I would give you is the fact that we're all involved in AI. That is, any of us who own a smartphone. It's tracking us all the time. What many of us don't realize is that, for example, we make a purchase on Amazon. A few days later, we'll get a pop-up saying people that bought this book were interested in that book, and they're trying to encourage you to buy something else. Okay, we put up with that. But what we don't often realize is we are feeding a vast amount of information into that system. And large companies are selling that on to third parties without our permission. And this has become a real problem. And it is really what is called by Susanna Zuboff, who's an expert on it, and has written a book talking about it called surveillance capitalism. So we have surveillance in that sense, which is economically vastly profitable. we're contributing without our permission. And we're doing this voluntarily. Now, this is eventually going to hit us really hard if we begin to see that there are problems with it. What I'm saying here is AI is here to stay. It is going to rapidly be, if not already, $1 trillion business per annum. And it raises vast problems in every direction, as well as doing a lot of good. And as a Christian, I encourage young, scientifically and computer literate people to get into AI. Firstly, to do the good stuff and develop, say, medical research that will help humanity, but also to be there to make a contribution to the ethics, which is very necessary. That's a huge topic on its own. So that's narrow AI. AGI, on the other hand, is basically represented by the quest for superintelligence. That has two parts. Firstly, the idea of enhancing current human intelligence by bioengineering, by cyborg technologies, by drugs, and all kinds of things to create a superintelligence base starting with human beings. That's the agenda of one of the best known people on this topic. There's not a scientist, Yuval Noah Harari, in his book Homo Deus, the man who is God. And what he is trying to do is achieve the transhumanist agenda, which really is two-pronged. First, he feels that the problem of human death will be solved by technology fairly soon. And therefore, the main effort of artificial intelligence and related technology will be to enhance human happiness so that we turn human beings into gods, small g, Greek-style gods, having super intelligence. Now, the other research is on trying to replicate human intelligence on silicon to make it independent of organic material. And it's in that kind of context that you get notions of people hoping that their brains will one day be capable of being uploaded onto silicon, and so they live forever. And we're all aware of people who go to great expense to have their brains frozen on death, so that they hope that one day they will be woken up and their brain contents will be put onto silicon. Now, all of that is highly speculative. There's much more science fiction than science. However, there are scientists, leading scientists, like our own astronomer royal, Lord Rees, who think that we are going to change the nature of human beings, so that within a few hundred years, the beings that exist will have no knowledge of us really at all, no idea of what we are like. And that has created not only speculation, but great concern. Elon Musk is worried about it. Somebody else said that in developing this kind of stuff, we are summoning the demon. So AGI is largely the stuff of science fiction. They tell us that there's a singularity coming. That's Ray Kurzweil, who's a guru in this field. This is now not the singularity of the original Big Bang. The singularity is when human beings become merged with technology, and the technology essentially takes over. Now, I see huge problems with this, but you ask me what it is, and that is what it is.
Does the rapid growth in computer processing contribute to these ideas of technology taking over?
Computer power is increasing rapidly, and there's Moore's law that says it roughly doubles every 18 months or so. There will be an eventual limit to that, but the idea is we'll be able to go so far that we'll be able to solve all these problems. But I have very big questions about that. One of the deep questions in this whole field is the connection between intelligence and consciousness. You see, I said earlier that artificial intelligence is artificial. There's a wonderful paper written by one of the pioneers in the topic, Dr. Professor Lenoxx, who said, and this is the title of his paper, I think it's marvelous, the